As a small business owner, I used to spend hours every week answering emails and quick questions from my team. It was at least 10, if not 20 hours every week. At one point, I was trying to systemize, and I started creating SOPs and how-tos and all these instructions and templates, thinking that they would get me out of the inbox. But actually, they just ended up wasting a lot of time. But all of that went away, and I was able to delegate my email once and for all once I added this one document, which I'm going to walk you through for the rest of this video. What this is a decision tree. It's a type of one-page information document that you can make in about 5 to 10 minutes that allows you to remove yourself as the bottleneck of complicated situations, because it answers the real fundamental problem we're trying to solve, which is who is responsible for what, which isn't an information challenge. It's a who is in charge of what challenge, because when people don't know and they just assume it's you, of course your phone is blowing up with notifications and questions. But if you know it's their job, but they don't, well, let's solve that challenge. And this tool is a great way to do that. A decision tree is essentially a series of questions you can ask to reach an outcome or a decision based on facts rather than feelings. It's basically a grown-up business version of those Cosmo quizzes you might have taken in the magazines when you were a kid. That's what this is, except way less fun. When do you need a decision tree? Well, decision trees are tools for delegation and defining ownership. They're tools for helping people through confusing decisions that would either end up on your plate. So when do you need them? Well, when people are asking you to make decisions and they come to you and you're like, I do need to decide that. When you notice yourself doing this again and again, that's probably a good sign that a decision tree would be useful. Defining this can sometimes be a little bit meta, but all you want to think about is, well, how you think. What are you already doing to reach that decision? A decision tree is just writing that down so somebody else can see inside your brain. Well, not actually inside your brain, but you get the idea. By the way, if you're not sure if your team is struggling due to ownership issues or because of tracking tasks or something else, I have a free quiz in the description of this video. We've had over 5,000 small businesses like yours go through it, and it'll actually help you assess where the biggest bottleneck in your team systems actually is, totally free in the description below. So let's actually go through this decision tree here. The decision tree is for email inbox ownership. In other words, who is in charge of handling the emails and whose job is it to figure it out if things get confusing? From there, we ask a question. Now, this question is one that I identified when I was thinking about, how do I decide how to handle it? Well, I realized for me, when it comes to email, this is the main thing I'm using, is trying to figure out what type of person is sending us the information. So I put that in writing. Then we had choices from here of which path do we want to go down based on the relationship type. The next piece is to figure out what topic or format are we talking about. Here we had 3 major branches: collaborations, sponsorships, and our offers. And then based on that, we break it down by which type of offer, and then it tells us which person in our inbox is responsible for that email. You can notice I have kind of the main boxes here. They're color-coded for our departments, for our tiny team. And then we have these red lines that if you need help, here's who to go to. And you'll notice it's pretty much never go right to Layla, okay? It's go to this other person. And if you're both stuck, then come to me. What I'm doing here is breaking down who is the authority for a specific type of communication without having to make it all into this complicated list. This is super visual, easy to just drag and drop and create whatever. And I'm using the tool Whimsical to do this, but you could use your whiteboard, a piece of paper, a spreadsheet, Canva, whatever tool you have will be just fine. Some of the common mistakes that happen when it comes to creating decision trees is, number one, making them too optimistic. We want to make decision trees match our actual logic of how we want things to go, not how we wish they would go. And so making sure these actually match how you make decisions already is a great practice. Whenever you make a decision tree, testing it and going through it as if you were, the team member is a great way to make sure, oh yeah, this does line up before you go delegating it to other people. Number 2, the second challenge with decision trees is people create them and then they don't hold people to them. So if I create this decision tree, but then every time somebody had a question about our guided program and I stepped in rather than letting it go to the person who's actually responsible, I am undermining that authority. I have this written rule that says, hey, the head of coaching is responsible. But if I'm undermining that and I'm showing by my actions, no, Layla's going to jump in here, I'm causing confusion for my team. I have one thing in the stated policy and my actions are showing something different. And most people are going to trust your actions far more than they're going to trust something you write down. And so I want to make sure I am following my own rules when it comes to this stuff. The third mistake that comes up when it comes to using decision trees is thinking that because they're so awesome, and they are, that you think they're the only tool you can use to systemize your business. And that's just not true. When it comes to systemizing your business, there are 4 categories of effort that we need to balance. There's seeing your work, there's tracking your work, there's ownership, ding ding, decision trees there, and then there's practice. There's the daily rituals and habits and policies that need to be in place. All 4 of these categories matter and need to work together in order to have a systemized team that gets better and better over time. Decision trees are great, powerful tools for that ownership category. But if you're struggling with seeing work, task management principles will be better. If you're struggling with tracking work, communication best practices will be more impactful. And if you have troubles with practice, that's where those SOPs and other pieces can really help your team operate. All of these tools are in your toolbox when it comes to building a systemized business. But speaking of systemizing your business, we can't really talk about systemization without telling you to watch The Ultimate Guide to Systemize Your Business up next. See you there and enjoy the process.